Um, okay, well, so let's get started. The last couple of times we've been on the call together, we've talked about conversion and trying to give you guys some ideas and suggestions on how to help people. And I'm going to word this very intentionally, not how to get better conversions, but how to help change people's thinking. You change their mindset, you change their paradigm so that therefore they want to convert. They choose to convert. They choose to jump into a care plan, purchase your care plan, pay out of their pocket, not just pay with their insurance and stay in your office until their insurance runs out, but commit to taking care of themselves. And so we want to continue that theme through this mastermind call. And one thing I'll share with you guys, Corey Wall has graciously shared all of the care plans that he uses in his office. And for those of you who don't know, Corey's obviously made some huge improvements in his delivery of chiropractic over the last couple of years, very specific corrective care, and he has built the business model to support that. And so his care plans reflect him being incredibly attached to the principle, so owning the principle, creating the systems to support and deliver that principle, mastering the technique to deliver chiropractic in a very expert way, and then creating the business model to monetize that. And so he's done an extremely good job at doing that. So he shared his care plans with me, which I will load. There's 33 different care plans. So I'll load them on a drive. I will share that. I'll put it on our website so it's available for all of our clients and you guys can have those. But I'm saying this intentionally with a word of caution is that you can't just implement a care plan and expect that people are going to buy it. There is a system on how to get people to understand what chiropractic is, understand the principle, understand and accept that they have a problem that you can help them with, and then get them to commit to making the decision to say, yes, I want this care, and then make the choice to jump into a care plan as opposed to paying for each visit until the pain goes away. So there is that process. And that's what we wanted to get into today with some discussion and sharing with you guys uh, the rationale behind that. And Brian and I would love to hear some wins and or some challenges that you're having with regard to getting your conversions and what you're doing specifically on your care plans, because there's no gold standard to get those good conversions.
Yeah, just for waiting for, I'd love to understand where people have struggled to put in care plans. Like, what's the piece that holds you back right now for people who do have care plans? If you struggle getting the majority of your patients onto a care plan, I'd love to hear that. And so, as you're thinking about that, because this should be interactive as we go through to best help you. But huge piece what Colin said, it's the care plan doesn't fix a problem. You got to deliver a great day one, two, three, which our last whatever two or three calls have been on, and then the care plan provides a solution. I've had people come in, we've offered a care plan. They're like, I've been on a care plan before, but no one's ever explained to us how it's going to work or how we're going to get better or all those pieces. So there's a piece to that. The solution the care plan solves is one for the patient, allows them to get a very high level of care and a result they're looking for at a reduced fee. It helps you as the doctor truly deliver care to more people by decreasing an administrative load or burden on your front desk. And it helps those patients follow through with their care because they've made that commitment when things were most important to them versus when they start to feel better and crises show up and it's easy to get off the road. Like where people, they start a new nutrition plan, get really stressed, and then eat a bucket of ice cream that night, right? It's like there's no dentist in the world that you go like, hey, we're gonna put braces on your kid and you'll just pay to come in for those tune-ups where we tighten things up and stuff like that. It's like, here's the price, this is how you do it to get the result. So those are the reasons a care plan creates solutions. It's a solution for the patient as much as a solution for you to enable you to see that many people and not make it, having to have like 20 staff people.
So I want to just kind of pre-frame this in your mind a little bit with regard to care plans and why this is so vital for chiropractic and not just for your office, not just to make money, but it's so vital for chiropractic and the fact that when people commit to something, they typically commit to make a change in themselves. I want you to kind of look at even in your life. So, for example, if you commit to getting fit, you go join a gym. And you know that when you go to join a gym, there is some sort of a commitment. It's either a monthly or it's a yearly plan. And there might be at some gyms the option to pay as you go, but for those gyms that allow the pay as you go more than once or twice for a person just to go and dip their toe in the pool to try it out, you know that somebody who's thinking in that mindset is not committed to getting fit. If you commit to get fit, you're going to go join a gym, you're going to pay the monthly or yearly membership, and you're going to commit to going. And it's the same thing in chiropractic. But let's look at a couple of other examples. For example, let's say you want to get committed to play golf. If you're a golfer that goes out once in a while and pays green fees, you're never going to get really good at golf. You're going to go maybe enjoy it, have a couple of drinks, go play some golf, have a few laughs with your friends. It's not a commitment to go and really get good at the game. But if you want to get good at the game, you're going to go get a golf membership. Maybe you get some lessons and you're going to commit to going. And you're probably going to start playing multiple times a week or whatever that is. So, look at you want to start boxing, you want to join any type of club, there's a commitment. So it's the same thing in chiropractic. You're looking for people to make a change in their life. You want to see some corrective level in their spine if you're doing corrective care, if you want to see structural change or neurological change, and know that that is a foundational principle in gaining health, is that structural neurological change. You know that they have to commit. So if you can own that principle and understand that you're looking to change people's lives and transform people's lives, you want people to commit to what it is you're delivering. So, and I said this last week. So, for those of you who are still accepting people on a pay as you go basis, you truly, and I'm going to say this, you truly don't own the principle of chiropractic and you don't own what you're delivering. If you're doing corrective or neurologically based care, subluxation correction, and you're allowing people to come and pay as they go, all you're doing is taking their money. That's all you're doing. So that's fine if you want to do that. And oh, yes, one adjustment's better than none at all. Yes, I get all that stuff. But what I'm going to say to you is that if you're doing that and it's more than a one-off, then frankly, you haven't mastered your systems. You haven't mastered your technique. You haven't mastered the processes in your office. You haven't trained your team to get the results you need to get a very high percentage of people saying, yes, I'm going to commit to the care plan. So there's a disconnect there. So please realize that. Like if you're not seeing a lot of people a week, or if you're not seeing your potential or the number of people that you want to see, if you haven't grown the practice that you want to grow, then there's a disconnect. So let's understand that and realize that we have to put the proper systems in place. We have to have the proper mindset shift in ourselves so that we can share that or create opportunities to share that with our community so that they get it. They can understand what it is you're delivering, understand the principle of chiropractic, and commit to making the change for themselves and their children, their family, their close friends, that chiropractic is the answer for them. Get them out of that medical model. So let's agree to make this change in ourselves, get better at what we're doing, and then be able to deliver chiropractic on a higher level so we can get people to commit. Give them the opportunity to commit so they decide to commit. Not try to convince them, not try to talk them into it. Give them the opportunity to decide to commit. That's what's important.
Is everyone doing care plans, Stephen, in your offices? Everyone's like everything's care plan driven?
I'd say probably 90% of our patients are on care plan.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
we have
that's
some
that's
leftovers from the previous practice owner that are just, they come in for wellness care or whatever. But
that's a good number. Christine, do you got care plans in your office yet? Christine, I'm not sure if you can hear
Yep,
us.
yep, sorry. I just had you unmute. Yeah, we
Yeah.
have care plans. We're just fine tuning them. So we've actually been reviewing some of the ones we found online from, I think there's some that Colin already posted. And we're just
Oh, we lost her. Um, as Christine's coming back on, I guess the question I will have when she gets back on, if she's watching this recording, if she gets back on, is are the care plans in place or what's the challenge we want to know? Oh, there she comes.
sorry about that. I got cut off.
That's all right. The question I want to ask, so are you have care plans in place that patients go on, or are you still trying to figure out how to get care plans into place?
No, we have care. We present care plans to every patient in our reports. We're working on our day one, day two, day three still. So that even the session that Colin did the other day, 2 weeks ago, was a really good one. Just giving people the opportunity and not pressuring them. That was a great one for Delaney and I to listen to. And I actually put it in our procedures manual, the link for that video, so that everybody's kind of watching that. So we do
Yep.
have plans. We just need to update them. So even looking at Steven's plans will be great. My plans are 15 years old and I've never changed my pricing. So we're way overdue for a pricing increase.
Yep.
And so we're just looking at that now, what that
So I
looks like.
guess the question would be, so would you say that you're getting like 80% or more people onto care plans, or are you less than that?
I honestly, stats are my weak point. And so I've learned in the last couple weeks from Dillany, as she's been keeping stats with Colin, how important they are. So we're going to start keeping stats. I couldn't tell you an exact number, but I would
Yeah.
say more than 60% of my patients are in care plans.
Okay. For the 40% who don't make it, what are the, I guess, the objections, concerns, excuses they give?
Um, it could be time, it could be money, it could be a number of mainly those two reasons, time and money, right?
Okay.
And so we usually, we try to go back over some of the information, but again, we're still perfecting our day one, day two, day three. I just presented two plans last night. I'm waiting to see. We're also not very high pressure. So we give them a plan and we say, um, um, review it with, because their spouse wasn't there last night. So review it. Let Sharon know what you want to do when you come back in next day. And we'll get your next appointment booked. So we're not very high pressured.
Yeah.
But
So
we
that
don't,
would that would be a really key point there. Um, it should be incredibly low pressure.
yes.
It should be incredibly low pressure, but you should get 90% of people who sign care plans because they want them. So that's a huge refining point. So that's something you want to be training on, you want to be tracking. When people do not sign care plans, you want to kind of figure out what that reason is. Sometimes they'll tell you, sometimes you need to figure it out as to why they're not saying yes. But if you ever feel like you're trying to convince them into anything, whether that's to get back for day two, get to DR, sign a care plan, something's wrong in the process because you're trying to will them into it and they'll never stick around. So that's
Yeah,
that's so that wording is real important. You shouldn't feel like you're pressure.
of
I
course.
know we're not, but I also know we're very high people that choose to, because as I kind of in the opening, there's a massive benefit for them. There is a benefit for us, and I pointed out. I said this is like it decreases our admin time, helps with staffing, which is why we pass the savings on. So we're open as to why we do them. But there's a huge patient benefit to be on it as well.
Yeah,
So that's one thing, make sure. But I would like if stats is your weak point, being a business owner, I know you got an associate doc, you got lots of other people in your office as well. You got to look at those because that's the feedback to know where you need to work.
yeah. Yep. So I'm going to be working on, as you know, I'm moving my office. So right now it's been kind of challenging. So as soon as we get moved and settled, we're going to be continuing to improve our processes and working on things like our stats. But it's been kind of challenging. There's a lot going on right now.
Yep.
But what I would say is that we're just continuing with our day 1, day 2, day 3s. I think we get almost 100% of our patients to day 3. So we're not losing anybody in that process. So I will have to just have a look at the stats more closely so I can tell you.
Yeah, and when you're looking at them, like you're just looking at, okay, so if you have a high percentage of people getting to day 3 is awesome, then you want to be looking at what is like what does that day 3 look like? Like how many people make a decision at day 3? How many people get on a care plan? How many people end up pay per visit, say no? It'd be a lot of
Yeah.
insight that'll help you then in what the next step should be.
Okay. Yep.
For you and your offices, Stephen, so most people are on care plans. What would you say is the biggest objection or challenge? And this might be you, Stephen. This also might be Blaine or Wilson, because I know you guys are all in run together. What would you guys say is the biggest challenge you get for people getting onto a care plan? And I'd probably take it a second level, getting onto care plan at the report.
Um, hmm. Yeah, those are kind of two separate questions. So we have a pretty good success rate of even people that don't sign at the report if their spouse wasn't there, of coming back and signing something. That's improved a lot lately. But obviously having a spouse there makes a huge difference. Um, and I think
Yeah.
I did 4 out of 5. The only one that didn't was somebody that works up north and they were going to be gone for 6 months, or 6 weeks at a time, or like that's lately been my only reason people haven't signed care is they're like, I want to. And so one guy last
Not
night,
around.
he's like, I'm literally gone for 6 months or whatever. He's like, but in November, I'm here for, until March. So in November, I'll start a care plan and I'll work on correction then. And in the meantime, every time I'm back in Calgary, it's usually over for a couple of days. I'll come in and drop in. And then the only other big one would be finances, because for my clinic at least, that Elevate, the other, where Blaine and Wilson are, there's a lot less of a problem with this. But I'm in the poorest area of Calgary, and so there's literally a lot of people on AISH, a lot of people with, you know, $20 to their name, and so yeah, they don't start care for that reason. But
Now,
we
are
haven't
those
had
people
a
that
ton
just
of that.
that's like it's a hard like they scrimped and saved just to get like your day 1 and your day 2 adjustment,
Yeah.
or are you able to offer, do you have a default where you can default into a secondary care plan if there's a true financial issue?
We do. So, and we even put a third one. So we had like a wellness plan that was started off at once a week and then tapered down to once every 2 weeks after 8 weeks. So that was our secondary option. But with some of these people, we even said, look, like, let's do like once a month then. If you really can't afford it, like that's, approximately equivalent to what their benefits cover. They may have to pay a little bit out of pocket after that near the end of the year. But that's, um, yeah, like that's kind of our last resort.
But you get them onto a plan.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's chat about the spouse at DR. What's the challenge there if that's a an ongoing issue?
Um, Most of the time lately, it's just if their spouse works opposite shifts works of them and stuff like that. And so we try to do like sometimes we try to find a video DR. I don't like my video DR as much as the live ones. So usually we just try to get the single person there to the live DR and then go from there. And then usually they're referring in their spouse and eventually,
Do doctor's notes not work in your area?
they do sometimes, but
Yeah.
some patients are resistant to it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here's
Um,
a question, Stephen. So just with regard to that, if that, I mean, there may be the odd one off again that happens where a spouse can't come, like literally can't come to the DR as much as
Yeah.
you try to make it work, they offer the note, offer a phone call, all these different things. Again, two things on that. Number one, if let's say hypothetically this person goes into an oncologist the oncologist says you've got a severe oat cell carcinoma in your lung. You didn't know was happening. That's why you've got this chronic cough. This is a serious problem. You're going to have to start a course of medical care to take care of this cancer. I would suggest you make an appointment where you and your spouse can come and learn about the next step in your treatment. Do you think that spouse gets out of work to come in for that appointment? Right.
Yeah, probably in
So
most cases, yeah.
I know everybody on the line would say absolutely they're gonna get off work to come in. So number one, can we raise the importance and the severity of what we're talking about, make it more important in the person's mind to get them to commit to say, yes, the spouse needs to come. So they need to book time off work, get a babysitter for the kids, like make it work, right? Make it happen. Number one. If it's something that's happened regularly, and we've tried all that, then maybe there's a time where that DR could be more effective. Saturday mornings. I mean, whatever it is. So there's always a way to make it work if you choose to make it work. So, and it's again, it's up to you guys to say, I'm willing to step into this area where I didn't think that it was a possibility. So maybe it's a shift on Saturday mornings for an hour and then a short DR after that. So people can come on Saturday mornings. Maybe it's a Sunday afternoon DR. I mean, whatever it is to make it work. Maybe it's a DR at 7 in the morning, or maybe it's a DR at 9 o'clock at night. So there's ways to make it happen. It all depends on your commitment and how willing you guys are to step into that place to make those things happen.
One thing I'll offer here, Stephen, and this is obviously not just for you, but Wilson and Blaine as well, and well, anyone else on the line. Just one of my coaching calls this morning with one of the US offices, the associate I was having the call with, but it is a pretty big office in ML. Like they do see 500 a week, but their number, I got it written down here, about 70% conversion, which I'm like, that's lower than it should be. That's lower than what I'd be happy with. So we talked about it and we asked, and same thing I was asking Christine, like, what's the biggest objection? He's like, wow, the biggest objection is when they don't have their spouse there. So they're then trying to figure it out. And the reality is most people who don't come with their spouse, they walk home, their spouse has zero context. They're walking home and showing them a bill for around 3 grand, and they have got no context around it. So that becomes really hard. And it's because just conceptually, like they have no idea what that means. They don't see any value. It's just, and usually can cause some strife in a relationship that way too. So the things we talked about is just laying it out. And again, we're I don't like to be a pressure office. We are not like it's this way or the highway. We're like, this is how it works, this is how it works the best, and this is how we'd encourage you to engage. So with that, and this shouldn't be new, but when I went through it with him, he's like, really? We don't do any of that. And this is an office that's doing really well. So the first thing is when you're talking about, hey, like the DR, again, if someone's in a serious relationship or they have a spouse, it'd be like, hey, Steven, so I notice you're married. Is that correct? I'm just going to confirm to make sure someone didn't mark off the wrong thing. Right. So this is the appointment when everyone's married. They ask if their spouse can come along. And then we go into the reason. We recommend that just 25 years experience. People get better results, blah, blah. But that first part, that's like a third party endorsement. Like this is what everybody does. You've made it, it's no longer a request on your behalf. This is what people ask for. So this is why we offer it. So
And that's exactly what I do. Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah. I've taken
Second
your
question
language
would be
and
then
studied it.
if second part to that is then, so if you got that happening, if someone's not like, yep, I'm gonna make that happen. So then it always is, can they do they need a doctor's note, or can they make that work in their schedule? And if it's not a yes, they can make it, or we're gonna need a doctor's note to get, my husband, wife, partner there, then it should be like, okay, so here's what we got to figure out. Because in that report, we're going to go through your results, and we talked about the importance of you getting like the best results with them here and understanding. Second piece is we will be covering what a care plan looks like to correct this, which involves both time and money decisions. Do you guys make those decisions together? Well, yeah. Okay. So if this time doesn't work, like for me, it's Monday. I'm like, okay, so if this Monday at 6:15 doesn't work, with a doctor's note and planning, would next Monday work?
Yeah.
right? So I'm telling them like this is what to expect, right?
Yeah.
So again, it's not just you're not again you're not trying to get in a battle of wills. Like I think it's really important. You think it's important. You're like this is what happens. It's your results. We're also going to talk about time. You're making a schedule commitment and a money commitment. Do you guys make those decisions together? Most couples do, or they like input, right? And they're like, oh, so yeah, we can make that work, right? So
My,
that's one thing to look at.
one of the, because we've tried pushing it out further, like it's like, oh, okay, they can't come this week, but they could come 2 weeks from now or something like that. But we've had a really poor drop off rate on that. So our idea has always been, let's get at least the person in sooner. Um, and then uh, we have much better success rate with that. Um, it's still not ideal, but it's better
Yeah.
than pushing it out. Um, and then I've recently found we've been working with Hannah at Elevate with our staff at Generations because she's really good at this about asking for the referral on day one. And when we get the spouse in before the initial person's day three, and then both of them are at the day three, then it's easy. Like they both sign care. Like it's just been that much better to get both people in right away.
That's a
Yeah.
good idea. That's a
So
good idea.
one little piece, and I want to open up for other questions. I see Phil's on here. Phil should probably have some questions. Um, just from what Diana's asked for questions before. Um, based on so I 100% agree. If they're pushing their DR out 2 weeks, that's a problem. There's a problem with urgency and everything else. So 100% agree. So I guess what the question always is when it does show up, and I'm not sure whether it's in processes. Maybe I'm just lucky. Maybe it's the way it gets delivered. It doesn't show up very often where someone can't, when they understand the reasoning, get to that DR or the like right after that. So they're going no longer than 10 days before a DR. Um, because when I have that conversation, like, hey, this is what we're going through. How do you think we make that work? I'm waiting for them to come up with solutions. I'm not saying, hey, next, how about the following Monday? So I'm so because when I offer that, like so this is what we're covering, this is why it's important. Da, da, da. So how do you think we make that work? A lot of people are like, oh yeah, you know what, a doctor's note could work. So with a doctor's note, could probably get him here this Monday. Or they're like, hey, well, here's the issue. He's a professor at U of T. He's got a class he teaches that day. I'm like, okay, so what's his schedule look like? And then maybe it's like, okay, so what next week? It's like maybe we're set for Monday, maybe the following week. We're just gonna build our DR to be a Tuesday report, right? Like we're you shouldn't be booked more than 10 days out in many cases. So maybe you put it on a different time, like what Colin was talking about. So, but if you're asking it that way, like how do we make this work? Again, you're in the boat with them. There's a serious issue on your side, trying to figure out how we make this work the best for you. They're going to tell you what the constraints are, so you can figure out how that meshes the best for them. Because there might be a solution there, unless their partner is truly like out of town, which should be a 10% thing, not a high percentage, like not a 15 or 20 or more. Um, I would encourage like that line of conversation so you can understand what the objection is so that you can maybe have a better solution that gets them and their spouse there first time within the next 10 days.
Can I provide just this is I think will be a neat scenario for all of you is that there's two different pathways. So there's a different perspective. So let's just take the physiotherapy pathway on this hand and then the chiropractic pathway on this hand. So two people can come in with back pain. They can go to the physiotherapy office or they can go to the chiropractic office. And in the physiotherapy office, what they do is they come in, they do an assessment, and they treat their symptoms. They treat their pain. So they might get them on a set of stretches. They might apply some ultrasound or some acupuncture or whatnot. Those are all treatments for pain. All right. And I don't care what your thinking is on acupuncture, ultrasound, whatever the case is. They are treatments for pain. They're therapies. On the chiropractic side, we say, okay, we take them in because they have symptoms. We address those symptoms and then we explain to them that the symptoms are caused by an underlying problem which is neurological, which is caused by this thing called subluxation. And we have this process, day 1, day 2, to educate them about subluxation. And then on day 2, we explain to them that they do have subluxation. This isn't a simple muscle strain. This can't be treated by physiotherapy or some sort of pain relief or treatment of symptoms. We have to get to the root cause of this problem for that person to have, number one, pain relief, but number two, the subluxation problem is destroying their life. So it's affecting their organs will shut down. It will affect the quality and the quantity of their life if it gets left alone. So we have these processes in place in the chiropractic office. In physiotherapy, they're over here, they're still doing the treatment. The person comes in 2, 3, 4 times until the pain starts to go away, and then they're released. So it's frankly, in the patient's mind, not a big deal if they go in for that same problem in the physiotherapy office. And maybe in physiotherapy, insurance or WSIB or whatever pays the entire bill. But in chiropractic, it's very different. We're not saying that insurance is going to pay for it. We're saying they have an underlying problem that is causing their pain and destroying their life. And we have to get the pressure off the nerves. We have to get their body functioning better for them to heal. Okay, so we're setting this up very, very, very differently. So then by the time we get to day 3, and we're going to go through the entire process of how we get this subluxation corrected and how we remove interference from the nervous system and allow their body to heal and function and thrive, not just now, but in the future, short-term future and long-term future. And then we say, hey, listen, this is going to be a commitment. It takes time to do this. It's not a quick fix. So we don't accept pay as you go, because it would be incongruent to accept pay as you go if we're doing this type of plan. And because we're doing this type of plan, it's much more advanced. It's much more inclusive of a lot of different things. Therefore, you're going to have to make some decisions on your schedule and on the investment you're going to make into this. It would be really wise to bring your spouse here. So we actually show this scenario to our team, and we say to our team, if this person comes in over here with a simple muscle strain and they don't have subluxation, it's not a neurological problem, then they don't need to come to a doctor's report. Then they don't need to bring their spouse in, because they only need a few visits, and we're going to get them out of pain, and we're going to release them because they feel better, because it's not a subluxation. But because it's a subluxation, it's much more involved. And therefore, that's why we have this entire process. That's why we set up this care plan. And that's why it's so vital for them to have their spouse there, because they have to make decisions on the investment and the time commitment it's going to take to get this thing corrected. So it's a different school of thought. So if we break down that system and allow them to come in as with the pay as they go, or allow them to come in without their spouse, it's totally breaking down the whole system, the whole process. So that's why I say earlier is that if it's a one-off, there's always, like we say, there's always going to be the one-off. There's always going to be the person that works out of town for 6 months. There's always going to be the person whose wife works 24 hours here and they work 24 hours and they just can't get together. But so there's always this one-off. So if we have a bend but don't break attitude, we can at least say, okay, those one-offs, we'll make it work for them somehow. We'll have a short-term care plan. We'll make a care plan for them, whatever it is. They can pay for 6 visits at a time and, block book their visits, whatever that is. But if it's happening more than 10, 20, 30% of the time, like if we're not getting 70%, 80% conversions, something in our clinic is breaking down. We're giving in. So that's why we say we got to train on all those systems to make sure that this works, and we're delivering over here in this chiropractic hand the proper way to get people to, again, have the opportunity to change their mindset. And all of those things fall into place by delivering the principle, by sharing the proper testing with them, objective measurements, showing them they have subluxation, showing them what's normal, showing them the breakdowns in phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, explain to them that this is where they're at, and explaining to them that if they don't do something about it, asking the right questions, getting them to change their mindset, that their life is in danger. They're not going to live the life that they were created for, and helping them to understand that so that they can make the decision and therefore getting their spouse to the doctor's report so their spouse can say, yes, this is important for you, honey, that you need to do this. And yes, let's bring our kids in so they can get checked too, so they don't have the same problems that you're having. That's how it works. Everything has to fall into place. So if we break down something in that system, then that's why we're not getting the results that we want to get in our offices. I hope that provides some perspective.
So two things there, and then I want some more questions. Is yeah, number one, like we always talk about in our office, we don't train in the 10%. If it's more than 10%, though, it's more than a one-off, and it needs to be addressed. The second thing is like Colin's example there. If you have any challenges with getting people onto care plans, or you feel at any point that to get on care plans it has to be salesy or convincing, or you think that possibly any of your team members might have that feeling like they got to convince a person to get on, that little analogy that Colin just did should show up in your training. I know just with my team, I know some of my associate docs struggle with care plans. What Colin just went through, I'm going to take this recording, and that is going to be a training next week because it's just that mindset piece helps get you into the right state to know that you're delivering it to the person for a reason.
Hi, I've been listening to what you guys have been saying, and I agree for the most part, but in honesty, I'm probably 70% payment plan and 30% not. And I'm going to say, yeah, the big challenge is finances. And I'm going to say at least 5 out of 10 patients coming in the door for me have trouble coming up with the $49 for the new patient exam. And if I ask them what they can afford weekly, the answer is nothing. When I ask them what they can afford, daily, they say they have trouble with food. So there are exceptions. Like I would say that I probably see 30 to 50 people a week that only come if they have the cash in their pocket. Like they're not coming in if they can't afford it. And lots of times they cancel the day before because I don't have $60. So I think there are exceptions, different areas. I have tried, and I believe in doing all the scripts. And I train on scripts. I do the A to Z's. We train 4 hours a week. So I'm with you on all that. But I would say for us, for the spouse to the doctor's report, more than 50% would say there's no way I can't use a doctor's note because I can't afford for my spouse to be off work. Like there is no daycare. There is no be off work. Most of my patients are working 2 and 3 jobs. So it is, and I would say that if you'd asked me this 10 years ago, I would have agreed 100% with what you're saying. And now I've had to try and find a pivoting way, a different flexible way, because I'm seeing my community change. And just the same way as, I'm trying to make more Punjabi videos and more in a different language, but Hindi. It has been a pivoting moment. So I just, like you said, the 10%. I've had to lower that and be more flexible. And the more I tried to push, the worse it got. And I do my stats and I do try to monitor and I'm doing the training. But I got to say that the pushing made it worse. So sometimes just maybe getting to know the culture of where you're seeing, and my culture is Punjabi. It's been a different experience. Like they don't come together. They don't do things together. The spouse often, especially the husband, wouldn't come in and talk to a female doctor. So, that actually sometimes makes it worse. And I have to make sure that the Punjabi male gets with Dr. Davis. Like there's some different culture things that I'm starting to learn. And so just being aware that pivoting is a good too, I guess. And I'm not trying to downplay what you guys are saying because I've done that for years, but I'm still high volume and I still have to pivot.
Yeah, so two things in there, Justine. I 100% agree with you. The pushing is not going to make it better. It's typically going to make it worse. And I would also say, just because one of the offices I train in the US has they have a high percentage of a certain culture as well. We'll leave it at that. And that culture has to be addressed different. They didn't have success until they figured out how that culture operates. So I think that's what you're in the middle of. And
Yeah.
there's certain things that are really tough, that as in Canada would be seen like completely normal to come in and have a conversation and shake a woman doctor's hand that just isn't in the Punjabi culture. So those
Yeah.
are things you got to figure out, which I think is like what I think what Colin was getting at, what I'm trying to get at is you need to connect with that person, or in this place, that culture, to understand that. Because, and like you said, you've seen a massive switch, and I would say that's somewhat rare for most other people, but it is what you're in. But until you figure out how to connect with that culture, that's likely why your care plan number is lower than what it usually is. Um,
Yeah.
and I don't have the answer how to connect with the Punjabi culture, but that's that is the next success hurdle for you.
And I would say that you still do all the day one, day two, day three scripts. You still go through all the scripting, or at least that's what I'm doing, but I'm trying to find ways to, in many cases, for example, is could your sister come with you?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it has to change, because they're just, the husband is not going to be there. So, and just the same with certain people with turbans, they are not going to have a female chiropractor versus also the certain people with hijab. There's no way they're going to see a male chiropractor. So, and they want a private space. So it's like, it's just adapting to some of the different cultures. And I would say that it still works. It's just, it's more on the staffing. It's more on the front desk. So you're paying, the people are paying more. And it doesn't mean that they're not coming in or not committing to care. You're still committing the schedule of care. And in fact, I commit the schedule of care way more frequently with people who are pay per visit. So there is more effort on education. There's more effort on committing the schedule of care, committing to the spinal rehab. Like I don't back down on spinal rehab. They're just paying full fee.
Yep.
That's and hey, Justine, again, this is all personal preference. You guys each have to decide what you're willing to do, where you're willing to bend, and where you're not willing to break. It's totally up to you. And so again, just trying to provide perspectives here, but and again, I think it gets to the point where you start to realize, and we got to this point in practice, and believe me, it took some time to get to this point where for us to grow, we wanted to grow in a way that was conducive for us and for our team. And we put a lot of importance on what we did. And I think the question you have to ask yourself, and I'm going to say this to everybody, is you have to ask yourself, is chiropractic care a right or is it a privilege? And we got to the point where we said we were so busy, chiropractic care has to be a privilege. And if it's a privilege, then we required that people jump through the proper steps to become a patient in our office because we were not willing, we were too busy and not willing to accept anybody who was not willing to jump through those steps. So we got to the point where we said, if you'd like care in our office, we would love to have you. We love you. We care for you. But if you want to receive care in our office, there are a series of steps for people to go through because that's the type of patient that we wanted to care for. And we just put the limit on that. So that's where it came from. So I think that's where everybody has to decide what you're willing to accept. And there's no right or wrong.
Along with the CCO risk, at least in Ontario, having personally dealt with complaints that we legally have to offer visit. Not that I'm saying you have to advertise it, but you can't refuse it. And I've dealt with at least 3, maybe 5 people making complaints to the CCO because I didn't make it clear that they could do pay per visit. So finding that fine line is also challenging once you've dealt with complaints. And of course, every complaint makes your insurance go up.
Yeah, so the only piece I'll share on that, and this is for everybody, they need to understand how the two systems work. So we walk through, this is what it looks like on a pay per visit. There's a fee schedule, everything like that. And then this is what it looks like inside of a care plan. Um, And again, the care plan makes it easier for them financially. They understand it makes it easier for you administrative wise, and that's where it comes together. Um, yeah, like, and I was like, even when we were fighting for care plans, I forget when that was, like 4 or 5 years ago, like so many of our patients wrote letters to the CCO being like, we couldn't afford care if we didn't have a care plan. Right. So
Yeah.
like so it is
That.
just make sure when you're delivering it, it's not like, and this is how care works. It's like this is how it works when I come pay per visit. And you can do it if you want. In my office, it's going to be $1,500 more expensive over the next 4.5 months. So it does not, it like no rational person would choose that unless they're not into care.
Mhm.
Any other questions at all? Or challenges are anything?
This is good conversation, you guys. And like like I said, it's not one way is the right way. It's how do you make your systems and make things better in your office so that patients have a better experience, you get better results for your patients, and at the end of the day, you're happier with the practice that you're building. It's something that can fill you up and sustain you over the long term as opposed to beat you down so you're exhausted by the end of the week.
And this is the big thing, just going back to that stats piece. I know, Christine, you want to work on that. Like, it's all feedback. Wherever you're at is feedback, but if it doesn't move you towards your goal, then you need to figure out, so what's that next step to get to where I want to be, how I want it to work? Like our offices, we spend a lot of time there. Like I talk to my team a lot about this. Like it has to be a place that we want to be because we're spending more time there than likely anywhere else. So how is it enjoyable? How is it fulfilling? What does that look like? And if your current actions aren't delivering or moving you towards what you want or your goals or your vision, then you're going to need to change your actions because it's the action. It's not the goal that's going to get you there. It's that's what's going to determine the direction for you.